What's good, everybody? My name is Cole, and welcome back to Cole Sports. And the 2022 NFL Draft came to an end yesterday, and the Washington Commanders' first ever draft ended yesterday. And today I'm going to be talking about every single pick and giving my grades on them as a fan. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So to start, the first round, we obviously traded back for the 98th pick, and we also traded for the 120th pick, if I'm not mistaken. But then we traded that pick for two fifth-round picks. So we'll go ahead. We'll talk about all those players eventually. But let's start out with the 16th overall pick in Jahan Dodson, who at the start, lots of fans were a little questionable, and a little skeptic about this pick. When I was like, okay, I get this pick, and it makes a complete sense. And Jahan Dotson, yes, isn't one of the top receivers. He's not Chris Olave, he's not Jameson Williams, he's not, Garrett Wilson, but he is better than all the round two. I would say better than all the, receivers that went day two. I mean, I think they had to make this pick if you wanted a receiver. If you didn't want to trade down, fine. But if you wanted to trade down, which I really did want to trade down, this was a fine pick right here. It's just that it was you had to take a receiver, I guess. I mean, if you didn't, the Brown trade probably still would have went through. The Titans would have probably taken a receiver. Jahan Dotson probably was gonna be gone. I mean, I think the Packers probably would have a receiver, and I think if Jahan Dotson was there, they probably would have went with him. If you didn't go, if you say you went Daxton Hill or maybe somebody else, it's just that you would have been stuck with one of these lower tier receivers or maybe middle tier receivers in the second round or the third round that you really wouldn't have wanted, and that are obviously a lot less, are obviously a lot worse. I mean, I wouldn't say a lot worse, but just aren't Jahan Dotson status, I guess. But overall, I think this was a solid pick. There were some rumors, or some thoughts that maybe we could have traded down with the Packers again in the first round. We traded down with the Saints and then the Packers, and I think if that happens, you lose out on Jahan Dotson and you lose out on Traylon Burks. Now you gotta, try to get, Christian Watson, which I think is the best receiver available. He falls into the second round, but you see, obviously, the Packers automatically trade up. Obviously, they probably wouldn't have done that if they had a receiver, but overall, I think someone tries to trade up, or if not, someone takes them early enough to where I just don't think they'll trade up for. I don't think it would be worth it. The losing those picks. So I just think staying put, getting Jahan Dotson was the right move there. And overall, I would give him I'm giving this a B pick. Jahan Dotson, the player, is I would say a lot like Chris Olave. If you wanted Chris Olave, he has the best hands in the draft. He's very elusive. He can at times beat zone coverages. Man could be a little better. He does lack some physicality. It's something he does have to work on. But overall, I think this is going to be a great pick, pairing it up next to Terry McLaurin. And now heading into the 47th pick, second round, we take Phidarian Mathis, defensive tackle out of Alabama. We get another Alabama defensive tackle, and I just am not that big of a fan of this pick. And the reason why is I think you could have got him in the third or fourth round. I think this is a reach 100%. And there's too much. Now, I do like Phidarian Mathis, the player, and I think if you get him in the third or fourth round, this is a great pick. And, he's a guy who's a run stuffing D tackle. I think he does at times show off a little bit of a pass rushing move here and there where he gets to the quarterback. And immediately he did have 9 sacks. Now I'm not gonna count those 9 sacks to be a very face value of what you're getting as a pass rusher, because defensive tackles at times obviously they just get the benefit stats of maybe a defensive tackle, not a defensive tackle, but a defensive edge or an edge rusher running off the side, forcing the quarterback into the pocket, and defensive tackle's right there to take the sack. And obviously, good job, getting past the offensive lineman, etc., but, the defensive tackle didn't do most of the work. It was mainly the defensive tackle getting the pressure. It's just that the quarterback happened to elude him, and, defensive tackle was right there to get the stat, to get the sack. So, Fedarian Mathis, more of a run stuff and defensive tackle. He's a big boy. I mean, overall, but I think he can't help in the passing game. And what this means for Daron Payne, we'll see. Obviously, he wasn't traded, so I think he will for sure be with us next year, but I don't think he'll be re-signed. And once that happens, I think Fedarian Mathis will be an all-time starter next to Jonathan Allen. He's a guy who might, come off a little bit more than Daron Payne was, but overall, I think it's a solid pick. Just too early. I think he's a great player, and I think he will be a great player for the future of this team next to Jonathan Allen. Obviously, he would cost a lot less than Daron Payne would, with his contract extension coming up. But again, just a little too early for my liking, and I'm giving this pick a C+ grade. So now at the next pick, 98th pick. This is the first pick we got from the Saints. This was a comp pick they had, so it's technically a little later than a third round pick. But we get Brian Robinson Jr., running back out of Alabama, and this is a solid pick. I expected Washington to go running back. I wasn't sure if they were going to go this early here. I was thinking maybe if Breece Hall or Kenneth Walker was available, or mainly Breece Hall was available with that, 47th pick. They could look at Breece Hall, but obviously he wasn't. I didn't think he was going to be, but, I expected them to go running back later in this draft, but, they did go here, 98th pick, and it makes sense. As a Washington fan, you got to be honest with yourself. Antonio Gibson is not a true running back. Now, yes, he's been solid for us, but, Brian Robinson is a true running back. J.D. McKissic is, yes, a true running back, but again, he's not, that running back, you're going to give your whole workload to. But I think Brian Robinson can be that guy in the future that you can give your whole, workload to. He can be a 3-down back. He can, I think, eventually, at the end of the day, he will be the running back playing all 3 downs. We'll see what happens with Antonio Gibson, if he becomes more of a side piece of a running back, or if he will, not be here once his contract is up. But overall, this isn't a bad pick. Brian Robinson was my number 3 running back in this draft. He shows a lot of power, and, not the most fast, but when, he can go to full speed, he can get to that fast, and he can really be, outrun a lot of defenses. So I think this is a solid pick here. And overall, this is a solid pick, and the grade I gave this was a B-. With the next pick, we have Percy Butler here, safety from Louisiana, if I'm not mistaken. So he's got some praise for being one of the best, special team safeties out here, so we probably will make an immediate impact on special teams, so that is good to see. But also there is some development there, but there's some chances that he could get some impact on that defense right away at free safety. Maybe he can compete for that free safety spot a year or 2 down the road here. So that's going to be interesting to look at on. This isn't a bad pick, isn't a crazy pick at that. I think they were looking at safety maybe a little earlier if they wanted to, but I bet lots of their guys did go off the board. Honestly, I was thinking maybe Jerquan Brisker with that 2nd round pick. That was the guy I really wanted, but obviously they went for Fedarian Mathis, and now they're here with Percy Butler in the 4th. So this wasn't a terrible pick. Nothing too flashy, nothing too crazy. But Percy Butler should be able to make an immediate impact through the defense possibly, but mainly through special teams. Now, the commander, the draft grade I gave this was a B-, something solid, nothing crazy. Percy Butler looks good, and he should be a guy we should have for a while here. Now we did trade our other 4th round pick that we got from the New Orleans Saints, and we got 2 5th round picks. We gave up our 6th round pick to do that, and with our first 5th round pick, the number 1 overall pick in the 5th round, we got Sam Howe, quarterback from North Carolina. Now, I'm very happy with this pick, mainly because this was a great just value pick. Yeah, I mean, let's set this straight. Sam Howe is not, I'll say this, he's not going to be playing right away. So this guy, we have time to possibly develop behind Carson Wentz, and I think if development goes right, he could be future quarterback. I'm not going to go too far. I'm not gonna say too much about the future of him that's the farthest I'll go. That is the farthest I'll go talking about his future. But overall, what they want to try to do is get him behind Carson Wentz and try to develop him. They talked to Carson Wentz before they, drafted Sam Howell and say, hey, we're looking to bring him in. We're not trying to replace you. This is all about developing the young guy. And he was all ears. He was good to go. And I don't think Carson Wentz will be replaced automatically. Now, if everything goes south and we have a terrible season, Carson Wentz is playing bad, we might see Sam Howell in year one. But overall, I don't think, that's going to happen. So I don't think we'll really see Sam Howell all this first year, except in the preseason. So we'll see, and maybe, at the end of the year, we'll see where their mind's at with, not having to pay Carson Wentz any guaranteed money next year. Do they want to let him go? Do they want to keep him? Again, just all depends on Carson Wentz's play. So I'm really excited to see Sam Howell in the building. And obviously, I think this was just a great value pick overall. And I'm giving this a pick or a grade of A+. Sam Howell, not necessarily the best quarterback. He was my number 2 quarterback in this draft. Not the best quarterback. There are some, problems, I think, with awareness a little bit like that. But, man, he is tough. He is a tough quarterback. And obviously probably is the best deep ball in this entire draft. I'm giving this an A+, just because this is an insane value in the 5th round. So, great pick here for Sam Howell. Now, with our second 5th round pick that we got from the Panthers trade, we drafted tight end Cole Turner out of Nevada. Cole Turner is an interesting prospect. He is a very tall prospect, about 6'6", 6'7". He's not the fastest. He's not the most, I wouldn't say, dynamic tight end, but he will be a threat in the red zone. Jump balls is all him. Jump balls are all him. Watching some of this tape, there's some crazy catches that he has had in the end zone, kind of rotating his body to get into the direction of where you're trying to catch the ball. And you can see, I think Carson Strong knows obviously his strengths, and he's throwing the ball so far away from the defender to where, Cole Turner is, pretty much sideways when catching these footballs. And, he has great hands. He, again, red zone guy. He's a jump ball guy. He's not the most fast. He's not the most dynamic. But overall, this isn't a bad pick. And I think Cole Turner could be a dynamic player in this offense. Overall, probably not the most dynamic tight end that there was, but here I'm giving this grade of a C+. So solid, nothing great, but it's okay. Now into the 7th round, had no 6th round picks after trading them to the Panthers to get the 2 5th round picks. We selected offensive guard, or I could just honestly say offensive lineman, Chris Paul. No, not Suns Chris Paul, but Tulsa offensive lineman Chris Paul. And I think this is a very good pick. Tape wasn't the best, but he has, some athleticism with there. And honestly, I think the one thing that really got him drafted here was his versatility on the offensive line. I think he'll mainly be playing guard, but if he really needs to, if we really need him to, he can play tackle too. The versatility at the offensive line is great, and obviously Ron Rivera does like that with his offensive linemen. I think he'll probably be back up to Andrew Norrell and Schweitzer, but for the most part, honestly, I think if developed right throughout this few years, he could be a starting guard for this team for a little bit here. We'll see. Obviously, I'm pretty sure Andrew Norrell is only a 1-year deal, so we'll see what happens after that. If Chris Paul gets the start, or obviously free agency, but obviously that's a whole year away. But overall, I think Chris Paul is a guy we can develop behind these guys. He's a good backup, good versatility, and we need that, especially with the offensive lineman or an offensive line that did get hurt a lot last year. Overall, I think it's a solid pick, and with this, I gave it a grade of a B. So it was pretty solid. Now, here with the final pick that we had in 240th in the 7th round, we selected cornerback Christian Holmes from Oklahoma State. And this wasn't a terrible pick. This is something I probably expected to be addressed a little earlier in the draft, but it's not terrible. Christian Holmes is, a solid corner. I think at times he plays a little too panicky. Not my words, I guess. Daniel Jeremiah's words. I mean, I guess, I was looking at some of the tape, and that does make sense. He plays a little bit too fast. He plays a little bit like, oh shoot, Eddie, he's about to take it to the house. He needs to calm down, let the ball come to him. The game needs to slow down for him. The game right now is too fast a little bit, but overall, I think he can do that, and I think we'll see. We'll see what happens. Give him a shot in camp, give him a shot in the preseason, and see what he can do. But overall, I gave this pick a C. It's a 7th round pick. Not too much really to go on with this. Now, overall, I'm giving this a draft a B or a B minus. Overall, I don't think we hit this draft out of the ballpark, but at the same time, I don't think we grounded out to third. I think we hit a solid a solid double or a triple if our base runner was fast enough to get there. But I think we got guys with a lot of high ceilings or a lot of high floors. There's some guys with some high ceilings or higher ceilings than some of the other guys. I think Jahan Dodson can be one of the better receivers out of this draft class, and Brian Robinson, and obviously Sam Howe. But I don't think we're gonna have too many busts out of lots of these guys personally, but obviously time will tell, and I really cannot wait to get to the start of the season and see what happens. I'm very excited for the start of the season, and honestly, I'm excited for next year's draft already. Wherever we drafted, I hope it's pick 32. I hope it's pick 32. But this was a lot of fun covering the draft. I probably will have another video out today or tomorrow about my favorite drafts overall, or over picks overall in the draft. So I will, see you guys later in another video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Peace out.